Hi, my name is Winslet, and welcome to my video discussing the 28th Dev Diary for Age of Wonders 4. This one is covering the art of Primal Fury, and I did just take a little bit of time to go through this to take a look at what's coming up and to get an idea of what's here so we could move through it generally pretty quickly. And I have to say, there's a lot more information here than I was expecting when they mentioned that they were going to be going over art last week. I was expecting like what they've done in the past where they just give us a couple screenshots, talk about how they made their decisions. But what I found really interesting towards the end was this screenshot right here. This is of oh wait, no, it's this one, right? These mounts will be available as unlockable rewards in the Pantheon tree. So we're going to be getting, what is that, a lion, a tiger, something, zebra, stag, and I'm not sure what that is, but there's two animals there that uh, I didn't list off there. So we're going to be getting a lot of guys basically. You can kind of see them right there in the Pantheon tree, can't you? That's pretty cool. That's very exciting for me to know that we're getting that many mounts. Just means we're getting more variety in Primal Fury, and that is what I really like about Age of Wonders 4. I like having the ability to build different things to tell different stories. It just really adds to the replayability of the game as a whole. So in general, they start off by just talking about how they came up with the vibe, the feel for Planet not Planetfall, for Primal Fury. And so they were going for something kind of Neolithic, something connected to animals and spiritualism and tribalism motifs. You probably have seen a couple of the totem poles in some of the designs before. They show off these character designs at the bottom. Something about this reminds me of like Avatar. I think it's the glowing light blue, um, and the like mystical animals. I think reminds me of the general feel in Avatar. But yeah, it also kind of reminds me of things like in Legend of Zelda with Majora's Mask and those like horned like creatures. Underneath this, they showed us some of the ideas for units. I think they were talking about how they wanted subcultures to really add to the variety of play styles, and I really love that idea. I hope eventually we get some more subcultures for some of the other factions. I think that would really add to the replayability of the game in general. But yeah, let's see. What do we have here? We have like basically different versions of an archer, some kind of arching unit. There's one with there's two with a slingshot in the middle. There's some with like some horns. And in general, though, these are just different versions of some like simpler cultures or less like technological ones that rely more on animalism and that that I guess those themes, those motifs. They eventually settled on wanting to do the blow dart gun, which is pretty cool. They had to add a whole new animation for it, and it looks really fun. I like the way that it works differently than everything else in the game. It's very unique play style. The whole you have less range, but you get to ignore covers is going to be, I think, pretty interesting. I can't wait to see what people do with it in multiplayer. But yeah, the other image underneath that we have is some of the other weapons, I believe. The curved weapons that you'd see more on people riding around on horses are pretty common with this update, and it's something that they were thinking about pretty early on. Let's see what else is there mentioned here. There's something about the armor colors and split up things into trinkets and like furs and bones, which really gives you that tribal feeling. I really like this unit. I think this is the animist, or it looks a lot like the animist right there with the horns poking up. I'm not sure exactly what animal it's supposed to be like, but it just has a very iconic feel, and I think that's a big part of why it's on the front cover of the Primal Fury like art, the image that is associated with this. We also have some things about how they were sculpting with digital clay, and that um, something about the axes were really bright so that you could see them more easily. These are interesting little just designs of the way they looked, different versions of the shield. They wanted it to depend on your choices. So if you got a Stormcrow guy, then your shield should reflect that a little bit. So yeah, that's pretty cool. The reptilian ones are gonna have like their stuff reflected on the shields. That's something I hadn't seen in any of the coverage up until this point. So that's actually a really like small, easy to miss detail for people. I think these are the staves that they've showed up previously. That does look like it, right? You can see the icons a little bit more easily on some of them than others. Like that's definitely an eagle. That's definitely a mammoth. Less clear on this green one, but that's I think the crocodile. Um, there's something about the skin decorations trying to match the culture as well. So there's a lot of variations that they had to play around with, and I think it all came together very nicely. It could come across very chaotic and messy, but I don't feel that way when I'm looking at the art here. This is pretty cool. There's just like a lot of design and choices for you to think about. The cities are also pretty cool. I have mentioned this before in previous things about how the totems in the middle have the spirit animal at the very top, and I really like the way that you can just see that very visually and the way it affects the general color of the cities. I think like the mammoth is purple, so it would make the city a little bit more purple. Um, there's other little details like fireflies. Reminds me of the butterflies that they were talking about with the mist. You just got a really fine eye for detail, and it really adds to the whole setting. After that, we have some concepts for buildings. I think this is just like a house on the outskirts of something. Right there, you can kind of see these little houses standing on sticks, and that reminds me of I think like in Mad Max, they had these guys that would walk around on sticks, and their houses looked like this. But that's also, I think, a pretty common theme or motif from fairy tales. I don't think it's something they came up with for Mad Max. We have something about city sieges and how they are gonna have like different biomes essentially. The lighting biome will depend on the city's location, and since the primal cultures have different favorite terrains, that's gonna vary quite a bit. It's gonna match what their primal affinity's favorite terrain is. Like this is a sand person. I think sand was the serpent. I'm not too sure what this is, but it looks like wood, so maybe the wolf. And I don't think we've actually seen this map yet. It looks like they're defending a city, I think, or something like that. Maybe with walls or without walls. But it's different, so not entirely sure at this point. I like this part where they're talking about how this this right here, this design was based off of the dog that hangs around the office, Maki. And some people were saying this is this is like the meme, right? The really strong dog meme. But yeah, kidding aside, they really liked the lupine and goat forms that they added. It really goes well with the demonkin thing that they have in the game, as well as a bunch of other things. I mean, you could make like angelic goats with giant horns. It's fun. It's silly. It's up to you. They also made it so that there are little ear twitches and secondary animations to make them feel more like uh, a living, breathing, complete creature. I think they added some things like that for maybe the cats at some point because they had more time, and I'm glad they're having more time for these things. I think that it really adds to the overall experience. Return of the Naga is massive. I love this. This is something that I was very excited to see. The slip away that you get on this form is amazing. Being able to survive a little bit longer and deal more damage for a few more turns really makes a big difference. Like in the stream they had earlier, the mistlings were able to stay in the battle a lot more easily, mostly because they were dodging attacks. But just being able to stay in the battle can really swing a battle from like something that's not in your favor to all of a sudden you're probably gonna win it. Um, what else do we have here? They basically said they turned the legs to zero, which is pretty funny. If you imagine that, that's probably got like tiny little legs underneath here somewhere. You just can't see them. And then there's some other things about wildlife. So I don't know if they've talked about all the wildlife yet, but they did mention the mounts here. They mentioned that the elephants and the mammoths are based off of the same thing, and you can kind of see that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Like if you build one, it's easier to build the other. They also really wanted to make the features accentuated, so it's easy to see like their personality in the animal. So like the wolf's got sharper edges, I think is what this says. The sabertooth is really smiling. They used to call the sabertooth a smilodon, and I like that that carried over to this design here. What else do we have? We have something about the mistlings, the storm bringers basically come up here. They're not spoiling everything that's in game, but they look great. Yeah, I like the lightning effect around the Stormbringer. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure what it says here. Butterfly wings. Oh, he's got little butterfly wings on his wrist. I hadn't seen that. Furry head, antenna. So he's got antennas. There's even more butterfly wings on the face. Fur length is, I guess, medium. But yeah, in general, this is pretty cool. I hadn't noticed that was what was going on here. I had seen these little like antennas above. It reminds me of things underwater, like coral, I think. But yeah, I hadn't seen the little wings on the arms. Adorable. There's going to be a lot of things that have to do with FX, and the spells look really cool in combat. And then we're getting to mounts, which we talked about earlier. They, I think, mentioned the special mammoth mounts, elephant mounts, and the things that you can spend not society traits, body traits, trait points to get. Um, and now we know a little bit more about the Pantheon stuff. There's going to be some stuff added to the interface, something with iconographies changing. I didn't look at this one because this is just like, okay, cool, I guess. There's 2 new tomes starting with the wild subculture. Oh, tome artwork, yeah. So I think like this is the spirit animals tome. So there's like certain spells associated with that one, right? These look really cool. I might have to use these in a thumbnail at one point. Uh, then they changed some of the UI so that it's got like wood all over it. Wow, that looks cool. I can't wait to see that. Was that not in the stream that they've been doing? The streams that they've been doing. There's bonuses, visuals. I don't remember actually reading what this is. Give me just one second to see what this is about. Everything was kind of drab, so that they basically added colors, I think, polishing the game, so it's more variety and it's more entertaining to look at. They changed the interface for the skeletons, and then they changed visibility, which was something that they covered in the stream. So I did think about maybe making a separate video for the stream, and I still might do that. But I only got to see like a little bit of it, and they did talk about a few other things, like how you're going to be able to ascend your heroes. Dragons won't keep that transformation in the Pantheon, but like normal regular heroes, they get to keep some of their transformations, some of their visuals, so that they can show up on your realms and look more interesting. I think it's kind of like going back to this point about trying to make things more replayable. They're going to make it so that the leaders are more interesting when they reappear in your worlds. I think we also saw the exemplar is, well, it used to be called an eagle rider, now it's called an exemplar. I believe that's how this works. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I had for you today. I'll see you around. Have a good one.